Hi, you guys. Come on in. Come on in. We still have a few minutes here, so you're right on time. Hey, you guys, you're not late. I usually wait a few minutes here for those people who are probably rushing to their phones or their computers trying to log in. We'll start in just a few minutes here. If you could, mute yourselves. Hi, everybody. Come on in, get comfortable. If you're sitting on the couch, get comfy. You might want to take out something to write with and something to write on. If you're, in a lawn chair outside, put your feet up. Nothing too deep and heavy this week. If you're, in the bed, prop yourself up. You want to make sure you can hear me. If you're at the dining room table, get a snack. I won't keep you long today since it's the first week. But because I couldn't get the video to upload properly, I figured I'll take advantage. I'm gonna wait until 3:05 before I start talking. So again, those of you that want to start your videos, up to you. If you don't want to start your video, that's fine with me. We'll start right at 3:05. And then remember, I will save this and post it to Blackboard for you too, okay? So if you don't catch something now, you can obviously ask, but then you can watch this back later on as well. Letting some more people in here. Letting a few more people in. And we've got a little under a minute. We'll start right at 3:05. I'm getting old. I got to put my glasses on to check the time. Yep, we're right there. Hi, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. I hope you guys can hear me. I'm going to turn my volume up just a little bit, also for the recording. Remember that these live lectures are recorded, so that those of you who, prefer to be here live, of course, you get the added bonus of being able to ask me questions, right, live, to take notes live when the lectured content comes. But for those students who aren't able to be here, they can watch it back on their leisure, while they're washing dishes, washing the car, it doesn't matter to me. So it's good to see you guys. Hi, everybody. Hi, hi, hi. So a few things, because I couldn't get the original video that I did last week to upload properly, I wanted to go ahead and use this first week to just go over the same ideas that I was discussing in that video. I usually don't use the first week lecture time to do any lecturing, right? The first week I usually just allow you guys to become acclimated to being back on campus and getting back into coursework. But because I couldn't get that video to work the way that I wanted it to, I wanted to go ahead and jump in today. So again, I am recording this and I will be posting it to Blackboard for your review later. But if you want to take a few notes with me, by all means, feel free. If at any point you have a question for me, notice on the bottom there's a chat feature. You can type anything into that chat feature for me and I'll answer it as soon as I pause. In the event that you have a question that maybe you don't want your classmates to see, you can always email me, all right? You should have my email on your syllabus. Several of you have my email address from previous classes. It should be already uploaded into your USI contacts. Shoot me an email and I'll answer it as soon as we're done here today. I'm going to go through a list of about 8 things here. It shouldn't take us more than an hour. I always stop at the very end and allow people to think of anything else, right, that you might want to ask me before we log off, okay? In terms of this class, again, this is the first sort of lecture, live lecture. It, again, is in no way mandatory. So if you have to leave, if you have to log off, that's okay, right? Remember, you can pick this back up on Blackboard. So let's get started. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It feels so weird to me that it's fall semester already. It still feels in a weird way like I'm trapped in spring semester. I have some students I've seen physically, you know, via Zoom several times between then and now, and there are some students that I've only seen sort of via email and then there are other students I haven't had the opportunity to see yet. So those of you that haven't had the opportunity to formally introduce myself to, hello, it's good to see you. I hope that you're well. I'm Professor Harrington. I teach everything in education from diversity and equity issues in education to secondary education and exploration within secondary ed, to the pre-student teaching 384, to literacy, language, and culture. And if I'm being honest, all of those courses really marry one another nicely, especially when you think about my education, my experiences, and the things that I'm interested in. In terms of my background, I'm an English education background, secondary ed. I've taught English language learners. I've taught in rural areas. I've taught high poverty students. I've taught students with diverse abilities. I consider myself to be a nerd. I like reading and writing. So if you ever find yourself having a question about something and you go, I just don't quite know what I don't know, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to send you an article, a video, or something that I encountered about that topic, right? But if we're ever talking about a topic and you feel as though there's something missing, you're still not getting it, feel free to shoot me an email. I will send you the other things that I have in my Rolodex that I can sort of pull out for you. Let's talk about the course briefly. If you have your syllabus handy, feel free to take that out. If not, that's okay. But I'm gonna go over a few things here that might help you as we get started this semester, okay? So the first thing is the course overview. I've had a few of you email me just in the past few hours just asking me, what is, 283 really about? What is, explorations in secondary ed, and what does that mean? And the best way that I could explain it to your classmates, and the way that I'm going to explain it to you here today now, is that teaching secondary students is unlike teaching any other students. Teaching secondary students is not like being an elementary education major. It's not like being in a PK setting. It is not like being a professor. There are lots of connections between post-secondary and secondary, as I'm sure you can imagine now after making the jump from high school to college. But teaching secondary students is unlike any other student population. Okay, we have our own theories, we have our own models, we have our own best practices. And if I'm being honest, this theory class, right, how do you teach secondary education students, is important for you because for many of you, just based on your content area, you don't get many education classes. Okay, so just by way of being a secondary ed student and knowing that you have to also learn your content area and become really skilled at that, this class is important for you because it's one of the only theory classes you're going to get in secondary ed, right? How do I engage with secondary education students? How do I teach secondary education students? How do I motivate? How do I assess? How do I create lesson plans for secondary ed students? And I'm sure some of you are a little nervous about that, especially with the world that we're in today. But I want to assure you that we're going to talk about this always bouncing back and forth between being in a physical classroom and having to all of a sudden, take things virtual, right? So there'll be times where I'll be talking to you about this idea and I'll say, okay, and in a physical classroom you could, and in the event that we were completely virtual, right, what would you do? If your superintendent said, no, everyone go home, you have, a few days to gather everything out of your classroom, make these lessons work in an online setting, how could you make it work? And we'll have great conversations about that. But I want you to know that I'm very intentional about making sure this class covers a lot of bases for you, because again, for many of you, I won't see you again if you don't have, diversity and equity, or if you don't take literacy, language, and culture. I won't see you again until you get ready to student teach, like the semester before. And it's a lot for me to try to cram in theory, and this is how you should be talking to your students. This is what you probably shouldn't say in 15 weeks. So I'm going to take it seriously, and I'm going to try to provide you with as much of what I know as possible. And I want you to call me out on it. So if we're talking about something and you feel as though, I think I could learn a little bit more about this, ask. I'm more than willing to send you more stuff. I'm more than willing to send you more worksheets, to give you more suggestions for videos to watch, okay? It's important because you won't have another secondary ed theory class, okay? Now that we've gone over that and what sort of to expect in the class, the first page talks about the course description and a little bit about prereqs. As you know, this class covers a lot of bases. Okay, it is your theory in secondary ed. So it just talks about, you know, how if we were in the physical classroom, I would also have you going to a local middle school to test some of the things that you're learning in the classroom. I've been doing some work to see if I can get those experiences virtual for you. If I'm able to get that, then that would be a nice addition to what we're doing. If I'm not able to get it, I'm not worried about that at all. I'm able to pull on some other case studies and examples to help you understand what it would be like to be in that setting, okay? So don't worry about that. Let me worry about that. If the teachers come back and they're super excited to allow us into that virtual classroom, then we will peer in and see what we see. If we can't get in there this semester because maybe they have some anxieties about us watching them teach, right? For some of them, this is the first time they've ever really had to teach online. That's okay. We'll figure it out another way. But I promise you, I'll give you ample opportunities to test it, right, before you have to sort of jump to the next class. On page 2, we go into some discussion of outcomes, right? What the class is sort of attempting to do for you in your learning. Good information there. And then the course overview on the bottom is really a lot of the summary that I've been providing many of you via email, right? This is what you should expect our class to be about. If I were you, I would take a second to review the bottom of page 2 so that you have a clear understanding of what our class will be like this semester, right? What is 283 for and what will it be about? And I'll give you a few seconds just to read through and then we'll jump back in. Once you're done with page 2, you can jump over to page 3. Now, I hope that course description provided you with different verbiage to explain what I just said to you, right? This course is all about how do I interact with, how do I teach, how do I motivate, how do I learn from my secondary ed students? Because again, secondary ed students aren't elementary or PK, right? And they're definitely not college students. And that's what this course is all about. So on page 3, we get into the nuts and bolts. There are no textbooks for this course. Some of you have emailed me asking that. There are no books that I've placed in the campus store for you. There are always books that I use during lecture, right? Books that I use and sometimes upload different articles, different quotes here or there, things that I feel as though you need to know as a future teacher. So some of the books that I always pull from just for my own professional library are investigating text and then secondary school teaching. Now I have about 4 others down by my feet, but these are the lightest ones. And those are 2 that I pull from often. But again, you don't need to purchase any books for this class. Anything that I intend for you to read along with me, I will post on Blackboard for you. Okay, so look, you're already saving $50. That's what, 50 McChickens, that's 50 sweet teas. See? Happy birthday. Merry Christmas. Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. It's a gift. You're welcome. So keep reading down, required readings. Anything else that I need you to read, again, I will post on Blackboard. No subscriptions or anything, so you should be fine there. The course grade scale and grade breakdown is there for you. This is the part that I'd really like for you to take a few seconds and review for me, please, if you haven't had the chance just yet. As you know, many of you know, anything that I ask you to do will be attached to a grade and a percentage, but I want you to see that for yourself today. And then once you're done with that, we'll move on to page 4. All right. So as you see, I've given you a few assignments to help you make sense of the class. Most students really enjoy the assignments and find them very helpful, but we'll see how I do this semester. How about that? Page 4 is all about attendance, makeup work, and late work. This is an important part, but I don't necessarily need to read this to you. I can sort of tell you this, and then when you have a second, if you haven't already, you can review this part on your own. Okay, so in terms of attendance, there is no required attendance for this course, right? I'm not checking off a box when you sign into live lectures. What this class is a completely online class that I've attached a live lecture component to. So because I'm recording these lectures every week to accompany whatever topic, discussion, theme, theory we're on that week, you're more than welcome to join me, right? That way you can ask questions in real time, right? That way you can take notes in real time. That way you can get the information earlier than your classmates who have to wait for this to, to go through the internets and post and then become available on Blackboard. For some students, based on learning styles, the live lectures are the only way that they do it. I have some students who only attend live lectures. They don't ever have to watch the playbacks. They do their live lectures, take their notes, ask questions, and they move on, right? I have other students who only prefer the pre-recorded. Completely up to you. I honestly, truly, genuinely do not have a preference, okay? So if something comes up next week and you can't attend the live lecture for week 2, that's okay with me. Jump into Blackboard, watch the video at your leisure, take your notes, etc. Okay. However, for those of you who know your learning style and you feel as though the live lectures are for you, I will be in this medium just like this. Sometimes I'll be in the office out at USI, but in this medium just like this on Tuesdays at 3. Okay. Our course is slated to go from 3 to 4:15. All of my lesson plans for our lectures are about 45, 55 minutes. So that, again, leaves me with 15 minutes at the end to stop. Make sure you don't have any questions in the chat. Make sure you don't have any really pertinent questions you want to ask me before we conclude the lecture, right? Then, of course, I go through the processes of uploading this, letting it go through the internets, letting it do its thing before it posts on Blackboard. Okay, so again, if you want to be here live, that's Tuesdays, 3 to 4:15. I'm going to reserve that usual Thursday time as your working time. I don't need to see you on Zoom. I don't need to check in with you. I don't need to watch you work. You know you have work to do, right? And I'm trusting you as studious scholars that you know work needs to be done. You don't need to watch me. Now, there will be times during my office hours where I'll have some, you know, aquatic music playing in the background, and you're more than welcome to log in and work, right? I'm here grading papers, or I'm here doing something, and you go, yeah, office hours are going on, but I want to have some accountability. You can log in and turn everything off and just work. That's fine. But no, on Thursdays, I'm not recording any live lectures or anything like that. Okay, so Tuesdays, 3, if you want to be here, that's where you should be. Again, completely optional. Let's talk about weekly updates. So weekly updates for your class will always come out on Sunday evenings. Sunday evenings. So weekly updates are a friendly email reminder that I send to let you know, hey, you all, next week's materials, next week's videos, readings, everything that you think you need are active and ready for you right now on Blackboard. It's usually just that simple. I usually remind you about my online office hours and how to get in contact with me if you need me, and I point you in the direction of Blackboard. It's literally just a reminder of, hey, you guys, next week is ready. Some students listen to those videos on Sunday evenings. Some students wait until Monday. Some students wait until Tuesday morning. I say that to say, if I were you, I would not try to jam a week's worth of educational theory, videos, readings into 20 hours. That's a lot. That's a lot of work, especially if I'm sending it to you on Sunday, right? So I say that, and I do that on Sunday so that those of you that need time throughout the week to sort of, you know, do a few things here, do a few things there, and I'm done before a due date, you have more than enough time to do so, okay? Again, weekly updates always come to you on Sunday evenings. Those of you that have agendas, if you want to write a note in your agenda, you know, let's say Sunday at 5 p.m., check for, you know, my educational weekly update. See if it's posted to Blackboard. Again, it should come through your email, but that would be a nice reminder for you, okay? Let's talk about late work. So my organization is set up so that I try to give you everything that you need on the front end. So if I know that we have an assignment due, let's say week 5, I'm going to begin talking to you about that assignment around week 2, week 3. Very rarely do I wait until week 3 to begin talking to you about an assignment that's due week 5. And it's usually because students are already asking me anyway, right? The assignment is done. It's just more so let's have a conversation about what my expectations are. So when it comes to late work, because I set aside every week 6 to 8 hours to speak with you all, to answer questions, hey, let me help you, what things you need help with, how are you doing in class, right? I don't expect you to then turn in your assignments 2 weeks late, right? So for our class, every assignment is spaced out. I think you'll see that once you get to the calendar. But in terms of late work, you have up to 2 days to submit assignments late to me. And for our class, every day that it's late, I take off 10 points. Now, I know somebody just had a heart attack, so I'm going to pause, give you a second to catch your breath. Remember, we're working on, 3 and 4 week timelines. You can do this. I've got you. I have office hours every week, 6 to 8 hours. If you have questions, you need help, something doesn't make sense, you can start bothering me as soon as you want. There's no shame in that, right? We're going to have to turn that ego down and reach out for help because, again, I can't meet with you in my office. Some of you, that's the way that you passed our other courses is by asking for help. So you're going to have to do that in a technological setting this time, okay? And you can do that, but I want you to know that in terms of late work, up to 2 days late, and I do take off 10 points for each day it's late. After 2 days, I very rarely accept assignments. I'm thinking my percentage is probably right at about 99.8% of not accepting it, just because I do actually try to jump in as soon as I can and begin grading because life happens, right? What if I get sick and my grading is interrupted by several days, right? I want you to be able to have timely feedback because now the next 3 weeks have started, right? The next assignment is now 3 weeks away or 4 weeks away. And I want you to begin thinking about that assignment. I don't want you waiting on grades for me because you have, 4 classmates who want to turn in their assignment 3 weeks after it is due, okay? So that's something I want to point out. And I always try to make sure I explain to students so that way they understand why I give of my online office hours so freely, okay? Let's talk about communication and netiquette. So there's a paragraph on the syllabus that talks about communication. If you ever have a question, please feel free to reach out to me. If it's Tuesday or Thursday between 10:30 and 2, I'm online, right? There's a link on Blackboard. On the far left-hand corner, there's a large tab on Blackboard on our course site. Towards the bottom, there's a section there that says online office hours. I've even included the meeting ID and the passcode for you there. If you click on that, it's an immediate web link that will open in a new tab and it will take you to Zoom. So again, if it's Tuesday or Thursday, 10:30 to 2, and you have a question and you don't want to email it, you would prefer for us to have sort of a instant communication, by all means, use my online office hours. If you prefer to email me, and maybe it's outside of that time frame, shoot me an email, okay? But in terms of communication, I need you to know what mediums are available. My office is there. I will be in my office recording a few lectures here and there, but I'm not going to be in there as much as I would have been in years past, okay, for obvious reasons. With that in mind, if you call my office phone, right, it will go to the admin, but she can't forward me all of those voice messages, okay? So the easiest way to get in contact with me is through email, through office hours if it's Tuesday or Thursday, 10:30 to 2, or, email again. I always have my phone on me. My computer's in front of me while I'm working from home. Once I'm in the office, the computer is on, it's in front of me, okay? So just let me know if you need me, and I will try to accommodate you if for some reason you need me outside of that 10:30 to 2 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, okay? Plagiarism. There's a section in the syllabus that talks about plagiarism, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I do want to touch on it lightly. You have a few assignments for this class that I assign not as an attempt to give you busy work, but as an attempt to help you learn what's necessary, because again, you won't get another educational theory class before student teaching. Okay, so the few things that we're doing, right, I'm not asking for a 10, 20-page paper ever. The few things that I'm asking for us to do, I expect it to be your original work for this semester, this class, based on the parameters and the context that they're given. If for some reason you have questions about what academic integrity means, what plagiarism means, please let me know. I'll be happy to walk you through it. If for some reason you've always struggled with sentence structure and punctuation, and you get really nervous and all of a sudden, you want to plagiarize, let me know. I'll be happy to help you through those, grammarian issues, if that's what leads to the anxiety. But I don't want you to ever feel as though you have to plagiarize an assignment, especially not when we're working on, 3 and 3.5 week timetables. You can do your own work. I know you can. And if you can't, let me know and I'll be happy to help you with it. Okay. Next up are my suggestions for staying organized in an online class of this caliber. Because this is an educational theories class and it's an important class for you in terms of your paraprofessional goals, in terms of organizational tools, I have to suggest an agenda. I don't know any other way around that. If you're the type of person who keeps all of your due dates and things in your phone, that's great. However, if you're not checking the calendar and the alerts in your phone every day, you're going to miss something. With an agenda, you now today have every assignment, every topic from week 1 until final exams. Okay, you could literally go into your agenda right now and write down all of your due dates. Okay, very rarely do I ever change those due dates. If anything, I give you more time if we're working on something and I see that you're struggling or I need to reiterate something else. But very rarely do I ever move anything up. There's usually not any need for that. Okay, so my suggestion as someone who's been a student for a long time, as your professor, as someone who wants you to pass the class, I know students sometimes think the opposite, but as someone who actually wants you to take it this one time and be gone, I want you to think seriously about organizational tools and whether you're going to use an agenda only, an agenda and your phone, an agenda and the calendar on your computer, whatever that is. But in order to really figure out what organizational tools you need to use, I need you to really take a few minutes to think about how you learn best and what's going to help you stay on track. So, if you know that you're going to be going on campus and working on campus to do our classwork, great. That's wonderful. Find that time, that free time that you plan on sitting outside or sitting in this spare chair and working to say, okay, this is my 283 time. This is the time that I need to do this. This is the time I need to do that. If you're working from home, and you know that home is busy, find that space, find that time, right? That way you stay on track and not only do well in this class, but, end up being actually sane by Christmas. You're actually sane when winter comes, okay? That's important for me and I wanted to know. So organizational tools, you think about that, if that's an agenda, if that's your phone, if that's Post-it notes, whatever works for you. But because we're doing a lot and because semesters go by so quickly, it's something I wanted you to think about the very first week of the class, okay? Last thing. So in terms of next steps, on Blackboard, you have access to your syllabus, you have access to your course calendar, you have access to those important things. Between now and week 2, which for us again starts on like Sunday evening, right? When I send you the, hey, it's ready, email. Between now and week 2, I would like for you to do a few things. I would like for you to get your materials. So notebooks, binders, folders, pens, pads, whatever you plan on using, whatever organizational tools you plan on using to stay on track. If that's just printing the calendar, then by all means, just print the calendar. Okay, keep it on you though. In addition to that, I want you to really review this syllabus, make sure that you understand all the policies and practices that govern you in this class, make sure that you understand the grade breakdown very well, make sure that you understand, that I'm not asking you to do anything in this class that won't be graded, right, and then benefit you in the long run, right? And then once you're done reviewing the syllabus and the calendar, I'd love for you to send me the student acknowledgement and agreement form. Now, I believe on Blackboard, I use the acronym in the shorthand SAAF, but the student acknowledgement and agreement form is found on page 8. And what it does for me as your professor, I've always used these, even when I taught in high school, even when I taught in China. I've always asked students, confirm for me that you understand what I'm asking you to do. Okay, and it's always given me a great opportunity to then redirect when students were confused, right? Or reiterate something that I may have glossed over. So for your class, the SAAF is on page 8. Literally just need you to, include your name, include the date that you're filling it out, sign it, and tell me your preferred pronouns. That's important for me because I am Southern, and I do oftentimes say things like students and people and hey, young grasshoppers. And, I use this gender inclusive language purposefully. But I want to make sure that when we're having individual conversations, whether it be online office hours or whether I'm talking to someone about you, that I'm not misgendering you, right? So if, Mr., he, him, his, she, her, miss, hers, their, theirs, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever you plan for me to use is what I need you to include down under preferred pronouns. That way I know that I'm referring to you in the way that you want to be referred to. If for some reason you have a first name that's different than the name that's on the roster for whatever reason, you don't have to explain that to me. Make sure you put that in that little blank space there, right? Now listen to me carefully. I am your professor. I love you all dearly, but I will never refer to you as Hello Kitty 95. So you don't have to put your nickname. You can tell me what other preferred first name, and I will happily use that. If not, it's going to be Miss last name, Mr. last name, their, her, his, she, okay? So just let me know. And then you're going to submit this part to me. Now, for those of you that are going to print this document, you can easily fill it out. Just take a picture and send that picture to me via email, okay? Inside the subject of the email, if I were you, I would put our course, so Education 283, and then SAAF. Right? And then include this picture so that I can have it in my files that you've done what you're supposed to do. If for some reason you're not the type of person to print this, perfectly fine. Fill it in electronically. Your phones should be able to allow you to do that. If not, then on YouTube, there are tutorials on how to fill in an electronic document, right? Via Adobe, via markup tool, okay? I believe they're 3 minutes long. Okay, you can watch that, learn something new that'll last you the rest of your life, and then send that to me via email. Okay, so again, next steps, you are reviewing the syllabus in detail, making sure that you truly understand it and you don't have any lingering questions, because it's important to me that you're comfortable and we've been transparent. I don't want there to be any, thinly veiled secrets amongst us. After that, I want you to make sure you really peruse the calendar and you understand when assignments are going to be due. And keep in mind that if things ever change, they more than likely will be pushed back to give you a few more days. I will never infringe upon your time and push things up, okay? Scout's honor. 3, gather your materials, whether that be a binder, a folder, whatever you think you need in order to keep your notes. Remember, we're touching on some really good stuff here. In my undergraduate education, my theory classes consisted of 3 classes. You get one. You only get one. So we have a lot of work to do, okay? So I need you to have a notebook, a binder. I need you to have something substantial so that when we really start talking about, how do you interact with secondary ed students and what are the challenges, what are the things that you can do, what are the best practices, and I'm pulling all this good information that you don't have something that you're looking at today that you can't find, right, when you start student teaching, right? I want you to be able to find these things. I mean, you can always ask me then, but what's the fun in that? You want to be able to have it, know what to do. Outside of the syllabus, the calendar, the materials, the SAAF that you're emailing back to me, however you decide to fill that out, I want you to remember that I have office hours every week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10:30 to 2. There's a link on Blackboard again on the far left-hand corner, the tabs, that takes you directly to my office hours. I open online office hours right at 10:30 and I don't close them until 2. If for some reason you want to conference with me and you say, Professor H, I don't mind if other people come in and hear, my questions, they might learn something. Great. As people come in, I will allow them to come in. They'll stay muted while we talk. They might have a question that you could learn from, right? Some students actually really enjoy that way of conferencing. It makes it feel like we're all sort of having class outside and you're just bombarding me with questions. Other students sometimes like to have a more intimate space to ask questions. Okay, so they will say, Ms. H, I have a few questions, kind of personal. Do you mind if it's just, just us? Sure. I'll let everyone else who's trying to come in for a conference remain in the waiting room until we're done. Okay, but it's first come, first serve. So if you ever, know that you need me at 11:30, log in. We can chat as long as you need me. Now, those are the things that I have written down here for your first week of your education, well, secondary education theory class, okay? These are the things that I think you should really know the first week of school. I want to pause and make sure that I answer any questions, lingering questions, anything I might have glossed over before I conclude today. Yeah, I told you I would only take about 45 minutes. I did good. I practiced it several times to make sure I stayed under time. If you have any questions, the chat feature is down below. If you have started your video and you want to ask a question, feel free. If you have questions, remember that you don't want to ask publicly. You can email me. They will come to my phone. They will come to the computer. And as soon as I'm done here and I begin to upload this for Blackboard, I can get to your question. It won't take me that long. Okay. But I just want to take a second to make sure I haven't missed anyone. Those of you that are filling out your SAF, that's good use of your time. Make sure you get your lawyer to review it before you submit it. It's legally binding. Now, I hope this has been helpful to you. As you think of questions, remember, type them in, send them over to me. I'll be happy to answer them. I think one just came in. Hi, Sarah. Sarah asked, why do we only have one secondary theory class and not more? Secondary education that's a really good question, actually. Secondary education is one of those weird places in education where they assume that because you know the content, you know how to teach it. And I know for a fact, if you're anything like me, that you have had teachers who were geniuses, just really intelligent people, could talk to you for hours and hours and hours about any old content related topic. But when it came down to having to sit back and assess, how do I teach this? There was a gap. And the reason that that happens for most students consistently within secondary education is because universally, secondary ed educators are thought to be smart enough to relay that content. We focus heavily on the content and not so much on the educational piece. So at my institution, and this is one of the reasons why I picked my school, now I don't think I knew much about it then, but I had to be a double major. Okay, so that's why I got more on the education side, because I was an education major and an English major. So I got all of my rhetoric, all of my linguistics, all of my phonics. I can do sentence structures with you all day, because I had one professor and her entire life was about giving F's because you couldn't map the sentence, right? And then I would go to an education class and all we would talk about is, how do you teach secondary students? I had a whole class on motivation and reprimanding secondary ed students. Fascinating class. I had another secondary ed class of theories on the mind of secondary ed students, right? Fascinating class. But I had 3 because I was a double major. At USI, in an attempt to decrease your classes, it also decreased some of your theory classes, right? So that means that instead of us having 3 semesters to really dig into secondary ed, we only have 1, and that's okay. That's fine. There are other classes that you get to sort of supplement, but that's why when I teach the class, I try to give you all of those cool things that I've learned in small weeks, right? Small chunks. So that's why when you look at the calendar, for instance, and I'm happy you asked that, Sarah, when you look at the calendar, you'll see, well, 1 week is all about the mind of secondary students. What is it like in the brain of a secondary ed student? And then we might stick on that for 14 days, and then we're moving back into theory. Right? And then we're moving away from theory, and I got to talk to you about teachers, right? In the literal school space. Then we move away from that, and I got to talk to you about motivation. So I've taken, all the nerdy classes that I've taken, and all of my experiences and try to sort of embed them into your one semester calendar. Okay. So again, we touch on all of those cool things that other people at other institutions around the country may have 3 classes in. But it doesn't mean that you're being slighted. I'm making sure that you get it. And like I said at the very beginning, if for some reason we start talking about something and you go, this is fascinating, I really want to know more about this, there's no shame in saying, hey, Professor H, do you mind, showing me an article or 2? Can you point me in the direction of a YouTube video that could, give me a little bit more on this topic that we just talked about? I just found that really interesting. I'd be happy to. Just let me know. I'll send you whatever you need. But thank you for asking that. They were attempting to lessen your burden and took away the stuff that you really, really need. The last thing you want is to be in a classroom and you're, sweating bullets. You're like, I've only had 1 class on how to do this. I need to pull out my notebook. I have some things highlighted. I know how to do this. Wait, before I respond, let me read it in my textbook. You'll be fine. We'll go over it together and we'll talk about how to apply it, okay? And like I said, if there's ever a time where you feel like, I need a little bit more on this, I don't think I'm getting it, I'll be happy to provide you whatever I know. That's what a theory class should be, at least, right? More than enough information. If you need more, okay, here's more. Great question. I'm gonna wait a few seconds here just to see if there are any more questions. For those of you that are on campus, I hope that your days have been going well. It's always so nice to be on campus. It's a beautiful campus. It's always nice to be there. And for those of you that learn best outside, right? And maybe you don't have a space to sit outside at home, find a way to get on campus and sit outside, socially distanced, enjoy the sun, enjoy the wind before it gets brutally cold, right? For those of you that learn best with some music, like a cafe shop type of deal, put some music on. Right? Go on campus and find a secluded space to sort of be, all by yourself. You can do it. You can recreate the feel of that traditional college setting, even though we're everything but traditional right now, okay? Let's see. Hi, Elsie. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and you'll have multiple opportunities to correct me. I know my accent is terrible. Are Tuesday Zoom classes mandatory? No, they are not. These lectures are live to add a live component and interaction for students who need it. However, at the end of the hour and 15 minutes, I always stop and post this to Blackboard. So if you missed that part at the very beginning, these are not live. I only do live lectures on Tuesday at 3. If for some reason, it doesn't fit your schedule or you're more than happy to listen to it pre-recorded, then you don't have to log in Tuesdays at 3. You can wait until it posts later on Tuesday evenings, okay? But for those students who learn best, just having that live interaction and being able to ask me questions like this, right? Like right now, we're just talking about the class, but in a few weeks, we'll be talking about videos and articles and, what does this look like in a classroom? And what do I do when this happens, Professor Harrington? And have you ever been in this situation? There are some students who need to take notes and talk through those things literally live. So this is good for them. If you're not one of those people and you know how you learn and you don't need it, just listen to the playback. Are they only on Tuesdays? Yes. So our schedule list, our class is Education 283, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 3 to 4:15. I only need that Tuesday. So I'm giving you a whole hour and 15 minutes on Thursday to use however you need it. Most of your classmates will keep the time separated in their calendar so that they can reach out to me if office hours don't work for them. Up to them. But Tuesdays are the only days that I do the live lecture recordings. Thank you for your question.
I also just want to say you did pronounce my name right. So.
Awesome. I try.
And I just wanted to ask that question because I work, so I wanted to make sure I didn't want to be one of those students that because I was scheduled to work till 4 today, but I was I have class, so I didn't want to miss out on anything.
No, I completely understand. And that's That's important to me, that I don't take advantage of anyone's time. So again, if you have to work, if, you know, life changes, or, you know, God forbid you get sick, right? You can't be in the physical space. That's okay. Watch it back when you can. And then if you have questions, of course, when you're doing, when you're watching it pre-recorded, if you have any questions, you would reach out to me via email or office hours, online office hours. But no, there's nothing mandatory about attendance. In terms of extra credit, I know there should be a note underneath the grade breakdown. I'm going to point you to that page. Yes. So page 3 has the grading scale and the grade breakdown. If you go over to page 4, there's a note at the very top. It should be, at least, that says if extra credit is available on a particular assignment, it will always be discussed via Blackboard. Usually extra credit for me works like this. I've assigned a few things for you to read. I've assigned a few things for you to watch. And I'll ask you some question based on what we've been talking about or reading. And I'll say, all right, you got 5 minutes to email me the answer. I usually assign anywhere from 5 to 10 points extra on it. It's really just my way of helping you out if you've been doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you just shoot me the email with the correct answer. Again, some students don't need the extra credit, right? So I don't want you to feel like you're missing anything. But that's usually how we do it. I'll post it on Blackboard. I'll, you know, reiterate it here. Hey, I'm going to give you extra credit on this assignment. Check for it. And you'll have all of 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever time designation to just email me the right answer. If you don't know the answer, that's okay. It's all right, right? There'll be another one. And we can talk through the answer, and you can laugh about, oh, I knew that answer. I should have just emailed you that. I always have students who say, I knew that. You should have emailed me. I didn't want to be wrong. Like, who would have known? It's in my email. Not posting these. Or who follows me on social media? Like, posting your answers to extra credit and laughing at the wrong responses. Anything else that you guys can think of as we round out the hour? Any other questions? Hi, Tram. Please let me know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly or not. Yeah, so the SAAF form is a form that is located on page 8 of the syllabus. You mentioned that your Wi-Fi is a little spotty, and that's another reason why I don't make attendance mandatory, right? These are all the things that people don't think about when it comes to virtual learning. But life happens, so it's okay. You're good. You can watch it back on the replay too, okay? But on page 8 of the syllabus, there's a little student acknowledgement and agreement form, literally, you know, less than half of the page, that really just lets me know that you've taken the time to review the syllabus and that you're good to go. I've been using a version of this for years, and it's really my way of sparking a conversation if you are confused. So if you're good to go, fill this in for me, sign it, give me your preferred pronouns, right? He, him, his, she, her, hers, their, theirs, it, whatever you want me to use, miss, Mr., etc. That way in communication, I don't misgender you, and you're sending it back to me. For those students who are going to print this, maybe on campus or at home, you can easily just write it in, take a picture, and email that picture to me. If for some reason you know how to electronically sign it via your phone or your computer, electronically sign it and send me the last page. But I do keep proof of all of these, and I give them to the education department. It's just something I've been doing for years. So yeah,
Thank you
so much for asking that. You're welcome. Thank you for asking. What else? Is there anything else I can answer for you guys? Is there anything that you feel as though I might have glossed over that I could answer for you here before we leave one another? Remember, this week is very light lifting. We're not doing anything too difficult. Gathering our materials, deciding how we're going to stay organized, right? Printing the syllabus if we decide to, downloading it if that's what you want to do, right? Keeping it electronically, whatever you want to do. More so mental prep this week. Deciding if the live lectures are for you or if pre-recorded will work for you, deciding when you're going to watch those pre-recorded videos, how you're going to take your notes, etc. I haven't assigned anything by the way of readings or videos or discussion just yet. So this week is an easy one. there any other questions just about the start of the semester and the course? Okay, I'm gonna say this one more time in the event that anyone's typing a last minute question. The calendar for our class starts on page 9, okay? And week 1 is this week. Notice the topic was all about the course introduction. What should we expect from the class? So check, you've done that. Expectations are always things you should do before next week, okay? So reviewing the syllabus, right? Calendars attached, gathering material, signing, submitting this form. The only thing that I would attach to those expectations before next week would be to reach out to me if you know that you have any questions that maybe you weren't comfortable asking today, or any questions that sort of pop up between today and Sunday, okay? On Sunday evening, you will receive your weekly update number 2 from me, because it's week 2, okay? So I try to keep them right, chronologically aligned as to not confuse you. It's weekly update 12, and you're like, it's the second week of school, and you've emailed me 12 times. So I'm going to email you on Sunday, weekly update number 2. Again, a very quick email saying, hey, you guys, week 2 is ready. Every video, every reading, anything that I feel as though you need to know for the second week is ready for you. Very quick email, and that will be your sort of alert that week 2 is ready for you on Blackboard, okay? I usually, on the very bottom of those weekly update videos, remind you about my office hours in the event that you need a quick reminder. It's usually something like, you can find me for online office hours this week, Tuesday and Thursday, as discussed before, right? And that's really it. So outside of receiving your SAF, outside of seeing you during online office hours this week, Thursday, if you need me, you won't hear from me again until Sunday evening, okay? And remember, Sunday evening, you'll get your weekly update. Tuesday at 3, I will log in just like this again, right? It's a reoccurring meeting. It's scheduled for every Tuesday between now and final exams, okay? So the information you have now should work. If at any point you're trying to log in and you can't get in, just shoot me an email. My phone's right here, okay? Tuesday, I will do the live recording again, and we will repeat this process over and over and over again, okay? Remember, for this semester, there are no sort of assessment days and things like that. We have to take those out to fit in moving the semester back a little bit. So the big break that you get is Thanksgiving break. And that's week 14, okay? So we have a few things to do between now and then. Nothing too difficult. It's not anything that I think you should be worried about. I've got it. I figured out how we're going to do it and how we're going to approach it so that you get everything you need before the end of the semester. If I stay home and safe, you should have 15 weeks of some interesting, jaw-dropping information, to the point that some of you are going to say, now I see why I hated that teacher. I see why I loved that particular teacher. Is that really why that happens that way, right? So my goal is to stay out of the way and to drink my water and take my vitamins so that I can deliver this good information that you so desperately need. I will talk to you guys on Sunday. And those of you that will log in on Thursday for office hours, I'll see you Thursday, okay? Hope y'all have a good day. Bye-bye. Good to see you.